inflation and paralyzing uncertainty for business. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 670 points. More at townhall.com.
Heard me talk about Relief Factor and how so many people enjoy a better, more pain-free life because of it. If you're dealing with everyday pain, it makes sense you'd want to try it first. Well, Relief Factor makes that pretty pain-free too with their 3-week quick start kit for only $19.95, less than $1 a day. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that fights pain naturally. Relief Factor doesn't just mask pain temporarily, it helps reduce or eliminate pain. Visit relieffactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF, 800-4RELIEF for Relief Factor.
With Progressive, renters can save on protection for the things that make your place yours, even things that don't make sense to everyone.
People always wonder why I don't get rid of my guitar since I never play. But it's like, what if I actually end up taking lessons? Sure, I've had it for 8 years, but if I get rid of it, then what will my New Year's resolution be next January?
Exactly. So bundle your renters and auto and save with Progressive and protect the things that make sense to you. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates and other insurers not available in all states or situations. Covered subject to policy terms and conditions.
Here's the Wall Street Business Report.
Stocks racked up more losses on Wall Street as a trade war between the U.S. and its key trading partners escalated, wiping out all the gains since Election Day for the S&P 500. The benchmark index fell 1.2%, and the Dow Jones Industrial Average shed 1.6%. The Nasdaq slipped 0.4% despite a rebound in big tech stocks such as NVIDIA. The burgeoning trade war between the U.S., China, Canada, and Mexico is helping to extend the recent slump for U.S. stocks. Shares of Target and Best Buy fell after the retailers warned of pressures on sales and higher prices for consumers. The Dow was down 670 points to finish at 42,520. The Nasdaq lost 65 to 18,285. The S&P 500 dropped 71 points to 5778. For the Wall Street Business Report, I'm John Scott.
News and analysis at townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. We are very mild this evening with a low of 61. Tomorrow, the rain starts around sunrise. It'll be heavy. Some storms, some severe wind gusts, too. It's a short event. The skies will clear in the afternoon. The high temperature is 73. And then Thursday, the sunshine returns, but we're cooler with a high of just 59. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point. This is The Point. Make thepointradio.com.
This is Sports Talk with Phil Kornblut and Chris Bergen. Sports Talk is heard across the state on radio affiliates of the Sports Talk Media Network and is streaming live on sportstalksc.com, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. The South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to call in is 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now, here are Phil and Chris with tonight's edition of Sports Talk.
There we go. There we go. Let's try that again. Welcome in, everybody. Sports Talk Media Network on the Sports Talk Media Network. Who pushed the wrong button? Come on, Plumber.
No, it was Kevin.
Come on, Plumber.
It was out of not going live because it was Kevin's fault.
So you're blaming the plumber is blaming the landlord.
That I am.
For my problem.
Yes.
I'm the victim here. Okay?
Yes.
You're the plumber. He's the landlord. You two are supposed to take care of this. I'm the victim. Okay. Let's try it again. Third time the charm. And good evening, everybody. Welcome into Sports Talk here on the Sports Talk Media Network on a Tuesday night, a very busy Tuesday that it has been. Phil Kornblut, along with Josh Cohen, the plumber, from our studios in Columbia, Chris Bergen down in Pensacola with Coastal Carolina basketball. They're playing right now, just getting underway in their tournament game. A lot of basketball. South Carolina's playing right now against Georgia, just getting underway. Another reason to hate college sports. I mean, it really is. This is why I'm just becoming more and more disgusted with college sports. The senior day at South Carolina, and you have a 6 o'clock tip-off. Now, I know it's because of television. I know it's because the SEC network has to cram 3 games into their schedule tonight, and this is the crappiest of the 3, and so they put it on at 6 o'clock. There's literally nobody there. I mean, you look on television, you look behind the benches, there is nobody sitting behind the South Carolina bench. I mean, what is the purpose? What is the use? I'm in one of those moods tonight. What is the purpose and what is the use of playing a college game that your fans – I mean, I'm not saying the place would have been packed had it been a 7:30 tip, but it would have been better than this. And it is senior night. I mean, my goodness. I know South Carolina's hands are tied because it's up to the SEC to set these TV schedules, but pitiful. That's just pitiful. Anyway, we got that going on. We got college baseball galore going on. We had Darlington Day at the Governor's Mansion today with Austin Cindric there, unveiling his car for the Goodyear 400 at Darlington in April with its throwback look of number 2, honoring Dale Earnhardt, who many of you might not have known this. I had forgotten, or maybe I never knew it. He drove number 2 early in his career. I know, like, Rusty Wallace really made the number 2 famous, but it was Dale Earnhardt who I guess drove the number 2 machine early in his career. I think David Pearson, they said, won in the number 2 as well back in his day. So a lot of fun over at the State House. Josh Harris will join us. We'll hear from Austin Cindric as well here tonight on the program. And things are now settled between Clemson, Florida State, and the ACC. Going to get into that in just a moment. I know we've got basketball going on. I know we've got baseball going on. A lot of things out there to divide your attention, which should be focused totally on this show. So you can watch the games, turn down the audio. You don't want to hear those people anyway. Turn down the audio and listen to Sports Talk. Feel free to join in to comment on anything we're talking about or anything you're watching. Phone number is 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number for you to reach us here on Sports Talk tonight. So let's update a couple things, and then I'll get into the Clemson, Florida State ACC thing because I got a lot of things to talk about there. But over at the Colonial Life Arena, they are playing, and Georgia is off to an 11-5 lead at the first media timeout. Georgia hitting its last 3 shots, got off to an early lead of 6-0. Now it's 11-5. Georgia shooting 57%, and South Carolina 2 of 8, shooting 25%. The Gamecocks do have 1 3-pointer. The Gamecocks today started Wright, Davis, Pringle, Thomas, and Murray Boyles. Wright has 3 with the 3-pointer, and Pringle also has a basket. Demery has 5 for Georgia at this point, and Newell, their outstanding freshman, has 4. So Georgia, which is still thinking about making the NCAA tournament, they're talking about Georgia being on the bubble, one of those last teams out, etc. They would certainly need a win over South Carolina to keep those hopes alive. So right now they're playing like they are playing to get into the NCAA tournament, as they are up 11-5 on the Gamecocks early on. So we got that going on. We have got other basketball around the SEC, the ACC. I mentioned Coastal Carolina. Other tournament action. We'll update you on all that here in just a little bit. And, of course, a lot of baseball going on today. In fact, Coastal Carolina has been playing North Carolina today at Coastal Carolina. Let's get you an update on that one. At Coastal Carolina, and it is a 3-3 game. I'm sorry, they're playing this in Chapel Hill. My bad. The picture I saw looked like, it's being played in Chapel Hill. It's 3-3, Coastal and North Carolina, bottom of the 8th, 3-9-0 for the Tar Heels, 3-4-1 for Coastal Carolina. So we'll keep a close watch on that, and we'll update the other baseball as well as we go on through the show. Again, there's a A lot of baseball taking place today. The big story today around here, and I guess nationally as well, has to do with the completion of the settlement between the ACC and Clemson and Florida State. Everything was reported on yesterday. Everything was finalized today. Clemson and Florida State Board of Trustees, they met, of course, separately. They approved things on their end, and the ACC's presidents signed off on it on their end. So everything has been signed, sealed, and delivered from the standpoint of reaching the settlement, excuse me, and ending the lawsuits that those two schools had brought against the ACC, which, of course, is exactly what we said would happen, going back, I guess, maybe a year ago, as we saw what was going on, because, I mean, anybody with a lick of sense could tell that Clemson wasn't going anywhere, neither was Florida State, and a lot of saber rattling going on. But they did get the satisfaction that they were seeking. In the nutshell, the two schools and all the schools of the ACC, as a result of all of this, what you're going to have here is, as had been proposed previously and agreed to previously, you're going to have, instead of equal distribution of media rights, media income by the ACC to their respective schools, you will now make your money based on how successful you are. Basically, in simplest form, as I look at it, you are going from being on a paid salary where you're guaranteed a certain amount, you're going to go on commission. So the more successful you are, the more you're going to make, just like a car salesman. More cars you sell, the more money you make. But there's no guarantee. Let me give you some of the details in case you have not been following along. I'll give you some of the details from what was agreed upon today. The settlement builds upon previously announced ACC success initiatives by creating a new revenue distribution pool based on football and men's basketball viewership, the new university pool, and enhanced success initiatives provide Clemson with the opportunity to earn an additional projected $120 million over the next 6 years. It's $20 million per year, plus additional revenues for college football playoff participation. And they don't have to share it with anybody. They get to keep it. Everybody in the ACC now is Notre Dame. Notre Dame doesn't have to share a nickel of its income with anybody as an independent. So basically, from a financial standpoint, you have a collective of independents within a conference. That's kind of how I see it. The settlement also provided a new exit fee schedule, which was something that Clemson was seeking in the lawsuit, the clarity to get to a reduced figure and have an absolute figure to match up with the potential time frame for when a team could leave the ACC with the smallest penalty. You know, previously, if you'd left, it was going to cost you like $600 million, and you would not be able to hold on to your media rights. You had given the ACC, through the grant of rights, you'd given the ACC your media rights. Even if you left the league, your media rights remained with the ACC. So that is what was won over by Clemson and Florida State. In getting this settlement, they were able to get that changed so that the new fee schedule starts at approximately the current exit fee and steps down by $18 million per year. It levels off at $75 million in the 2030-31 academic year and beyond. So the longer you stay in the league and you get to 30-31, the minimum you'll pay then is $75 million. That, by the way, that year of 30-31 comes a year after the Big Ten media rights deal is up in 29/30. So, of course, people are speculating that Clemson and Florida State, Miami, North Carolina, they're just going to wait till then and exit the ACC to go to the Big Ten. That's what people are already speculating. But those people don't know anything, because those are the same people that told you that these teams would be leaving and joining the Big Ten or the Big 12 or the SEC like 2 years ago. And none of that ever happened. So you really can't believe those people. But the option will be there, and the price will be greatly reduced. So those are the high points of this settlement between Clemson, Florida State, and the ACC. Of course, when you have a settlement, both sides kind of feel like they came out as a winner. ACC is happy that they're keeping their league together, that they're not losing two of their biggest brands, that this infighting is over with, and they can get back to being a league of independence financially. Clemson and Florida State, of course, feel like they won because they got the exit fee reduced. They were able to help drive the formation of a new revenue distribution policy that favors the best teams, and it doesn't favor the bad teams. So let's pick this apart for a moment. So looking at it, like I said a moment ago, you're going from the stability, even though it might have been less money than what some of your rival conferences were making for their schools, at least it was a guarantee. So if I'm understanding this correctly, teams are going to get money based on their on-the-field success. And the most successful teams are going to make the most money. And Clemson, Florida State, I mean, they're kind of hedging their bets that they're going to be good for the long haul, and they're going to benefit this way, that they're going to make the college football playoff, that they're going to win games in the CFP, and they're going to collect more loot as a result of that. So, like Clemson made $4 million for getting into the college football playoff, and each game you win, the next round, of course, you win, you make more money. I think it caps off at like $20 million if you win the national championship. And so the thinking there is you win all that money and you don't have to share it with anybody, which is great, if you want to look at it that way. However, you have to consider a couple things. Number one, you're not going to be great every year. We've already seen a little stretch where Clemson didn't make the playoffs. What do you do? How do you budget if you're an AD or the CFO or whatever? How do you do a budget based on the next year or years winning and losing? Because there's no guarantee. I mean, you look at the Clemson team right now and you say, all right, this team's got a really good chance of making the playoffs. What if Klubnik goes down with a season-ending injury against LSU and you lose a defensive player or two along the way? You cannot account for injuries in previewing these things. So what if you become an average team and you don't make the playoffs? Somebody else from the league does. They get the money. You don't get the money. So my point is, you go from kind of a guaranteed situation to you're betting on yourself. But there's going to be years, as we all know, where you're going to come up short. So I guess you have to bank enough money off the good years to have saved up to help offset those years when you don't make it and you don't get the big check. The other part is, I mean, what kind of a league is it where, I mean, the ACC is going to become more like Major League Baseball and less like the NFL. You want to be more like the NFL. Why do people love the NFL? Because every season, every fan of every team thinks, for the most part, except for maybe the Panthers. But even the Panthers now have hope. Every NFL fan goes into a season after an off season of free agent signings and the draft feeling like our team's got a chance. Our team's got a chance. How many Major League Baseball teams feel that way? Not many. And so if you're Wake Forest or you're Duke or you're Virginia or you're Cal or you're Stanford, I mean, if you're those teams that will be at the bottom of the standings most every year, you know, barring having a special year where you just rise up, and I'm talking football, how are you ever going to compete? And how is your fan base going to support you? And how is that fun? And how is that good for anybody? I mean, you know, I can understand the glee around Clemson because you feel like, hey, we're in a great position now and we're probably going to be in the playoffs every year and rake in all this money and keep it for ourselves, though you don't have a guarantee. But, I mean, how do you survive as a conference like that over the long term? You know, I don't know how you do it. Maybe it'll work. Maybe it'll work out great. I see pitfalls. I see a lot of pitfalls in this situation. SEC and the Big Ten, the Big 12, they continue with the revenue sharing plan that they've always had, distributing their money equally among the haves and the have-nots. Now, are they going to look at the ACC and think this is a great idea and want to change their model? I don't know. I can't see it. I can't see that happening because they're still, you know, they're very wealthy from top to bottom. They've got great television contracts, and their member schools seem to be happy. And what you're seeing as well, like in the SEC, you're seeing some upward mobility. Like here's a Vanderbilt that made a move in football, and a Vanderbilt having a very good basketball year. And we know Vanderbilt's already good in baseball. So they're kind of proving that with the transfer portal now available and the willingness to spend money on the players, that you can move up and be competitive. But they also know they're going to get that $52 million check every year. They're on salary. They're not on commission. I'm not so sure the lower teams in the ACC are going to feel the same way. One last thought. What they've also done in the ACC is really put the pressure on the players to win, more so than ever before now, because they know, and these players aren't stupid, they know that free throw I'm about to shoot to get me into the NCAA tournament is going to mean X amount of dollars. Now, I know it used to as well. The NCAA at one time tried to get rid of the $1 million free throw. I think it's probably kind of crept back. But go to football. Just like Nolan Hooser in the ACC championship game. I don't know if he was thinking about it or not, but that was a $4 million field goal that he kicked. And so that is, you know, if you think about it, the ACC athletes now, football and basketball, they are they're going to be under pressure, a lot more pressure to win than ever before. And the final thought, part of this thing has to do with viewership on television. The teams that draw the biggest ratings on television are going to be able to make more money. So, I mean, if you're a South Carolina fan, do you now dare watch a Clemson game on television and somehow be counted in the ratings knowing that you're going to help Clemson make money? Or if you're a Georgia fan or any fan of a team that competes with Clemson, you're going to watch them and help drive their ratings up so they get more money? And we'll be back.
When I grow up, I want to be a teacher. I want to be a dentist. I want to be an engineer.
Making dreams come true starts with making a plan. Future Scholar, South Carolina's 529 college savings plan, makes it easy to invest in a child's future education so they can chase any dream. You can start with any amount. Contributions are tax-deductible, and earnings grow tax-free. Discover the smart, easy way to save for college today at futurescholar.com.
Imagine a scrapbook filled with all your favorite memories of 75 years at Darlington Raceway. Now imagine that scrapbook going 190 miles per hour.
Have you ever? No, I've never.
You don't have to imagine it. You need to get to Darlington, where the drivers of today tackle the track too tough to tame, just like they did your first time. NASCAR Throwback Weekend at Darlington Raceway, April 5th and 6th. Get your tickets now at darlingtonraceway.com. Discover South Carolina.
You're listening to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. We're back in a moment.
You've put in the work for your education. The extra early, extra late, extra work. That's because you understand education opens doors to better pay, better opportunities, and a better you. Being educated about playing the lottery is no different. It helps you be a better player, one who knows when to play and when to take a rain check. The lottery's a game, so let's keep it fun. Learn more at sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
As if it hasn't been a busy enough day, Shane Beamer, South Carolina, Justin Falcinelli from Clemson were among those who testified on Capitol Hill today in front of subcommittee of the House of Representatives. And Congressman Russell Fry, who is one of the folks leading the charge in Congress to come up with some NIL legislation, he's going to join us here in about 5 minutes. We come back from the break. He's going to join us from Washington before going to listen to Trump speak tonight. He's going to join us to talk about today's hearing and what it is he's trying to do and what it is he's trying to get done in Congress that can be beneficial to college athletics in the NIL space. So stay tuned for that. Congressman Russell Fry is going to be joining us here at 6:35. All right. The basketball story over at the CLA, it is Georgia leading South Carolina 30-20, 6:18 to go in the opening half. Georgia is shooting 67%. They're 12 of 18. They've got a couple of threes. Only thing keeping it close for South Carolina is the Gamecocks have hit 4 3-pointers out of 11 attempts. Wright's got 2, and Davis has 1, and Conyers has 1. Murray Boyles has 4 points, 4 rebounds in 12 minutes. For Georgia, Demery has 7. Newell has 6 to lead the Bulldogs. Also, Coastal Carolina trailing Southern Miss 18-15, 7:42 to go in the first half of that Sun Belt tournament game in Pensacola, Florida. Be back in a moment. Russell Fry.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. We are very mild this evening with a low of 61. Tomorrow, the rain starts around sunrise. It'll be heavy. Some storms, some severe wind gusts, too. It's a short event. The skies will clear in the afternoon. The high temperature is 73. And then Thursday, the sunshine returns, but we're cooler with a high of just 59. I'm Cal Moss with your on-point local weather.
Are you ready to have a boatload of fun this spring? Sail on down to your local Palmetto State Armory store and deck yourself out in our new lifestyle t-shirts, hats, and fishing shirts. Seize the day with brands like Hey Dudes, Costa, Turtle Box, Local Boy, and more. Our selection of rifles, pistols, and shotguns is sure to impress. So don't be left fishing for something to wear once the warmer weather has arrived. Check out one of our 9 retail locations or PalmettoStateArmory.com to outfit your next adventure.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting the IRS is drafting plans to try to cut its workforce of roughly 90,000 people in half through a mix of layoffs, attrition, and incentivized buyouts, according to 2 people familiar with the situation. A reduction in force of tens of thousands of people would render the IRS dysfunctional, said John Koskinen, a former IRS commissioner. President Trump's trade war against America's 3 biggest trading partners drew immediate retaliation from Mexico, Canada, and China. The president's latest tariffs also sent financial markets into a tailspin Tuesday as the U.S. faced the threat of rekindled inflation and paralyzing uncertainty for business. Wall Street reflected that with the Dow down by 670 points, the Nasdaq dropping 65, the S&P lower by 71. This is SRN News.
So who needs broker solar? Well, it's the homeowner or the business owner that want to take some control of their own power bills. It's the family that decides clean solar is the path for them. Or maybe it's the church or nonprofit that wants to save some big dollars for their cause. Is it you? Maybe it's time you wake up to all broker solar can do for you. You have to let Ken and his team be your ultimate guide in what is pretty complex, this solar world. Make no mistake, solar energy is not for everyone. Despite what the scammers and door-knocking liars tell you, it is not free. It's a significant investment, but it has significant returns. From home installations to solar farms, broker solar can personalize your solar solution by meeting your needs and your budget. Their menu includes everything from full-scale solar on your roof or land and even battery backups for those pesky power outages that we've all endured. Visit brokersolar.com, stick it to the utility companies while also bathing in the sunny side of savings. Brokersolar.com, giving you the power instead of leaving you feeling powerless.
When I grow up, I want to be a teacher. I want to be a dentist. I want to be an engineer.
Making dreams come true starts with making a plan. Future Scholar, South Carolina's 529 college savings plan, makes it easy to invest in a child's future education so they can chase any dream. You can start with any amount. Contributions are tax deductible and earnings grow tax-free. Discover the smart, easy way to save for college today at futurescholar.com.
Imagine a home where every corner speaks volumes of care, precision, and impeccable style. At Southern Palmetto Painting and Renovations, we transform spaces with a splash of color and an expert touch. With fully licensed, bonded, and insured craftsmanship, we're not just doing a job, we're upholding a reputation. Whether it's painting, pressure washing, or wood repairs, we handle everything from your honey-do list to major projects. Call us today at 922-5615 and elevate your living space with Southern Palmetto Painting and Renovations.
Imagine a cooler home this summer and a warmer one during winter without the sky-high power costs. Redbird Windows and Doors offers you the solution with our state-of-the-art energy-efficient windows and doors. Locally operated, we promise a hassle-free experience with our expert team handling everything from consultation to installation and doing so flawlessly. Upgrade your home's comfort and cut down those energy bills. Visit redbirdwindows.com or call us 727-0561 today. Redbird Windows and Doors. Local experience matters.
Escape the hustle and bustle of everyday life with Spa MD, your sanctuary of rejuvenation. Feel the tension melt away as our expert team guides you through your customized wellness journey. From soothing massages to revitalizing treatments, we promise a remarkable experience that leaves you feeling renewed and empowered. Discover the calm within every visit. Reach out at 251-9400 or online at visitspamd.com to explore your options. Your oasis of tranquility awaits.
Sports talk every weeknight from 6 to 8, feeling just right. Phil, Chris, and Josh, they're in the zone. Across South Carolina, they're well known. Sports talk, bringing the heat. Talking sports, can't be.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Sports Talk Media Network on this Tuesday. I'm feeling kind of political because I was over at the governor's mansion today for Darlington Day, and we heard from the governor and Josh Harris from Darlington, who'll be with us tonight at 7:30. A lot of political folks over there, as you might imagine. And now we go up to Washington, D.C., where there are a lot of things happening, as you probably are aware. Kind of a big speech coming up tonight, but making time for us is South Carolina Congressman Russell Fry, who is, among everything else that he's doing, working to try to bring some sort of order to the world of college football. Not sure if that's possible, college sports overall, not just college football. Not sure if that's possible, but he's working on it. And he was, of course, involved in the hearing today that had Shane Beamer, Justin Falcinelli, among others, up in D.C., and we have the congressman with us here for a few minutes. And first of all, thank you so much for joining us. I know it's been a busy, busy day, and you probably have a pretty busy night coming up, too.
Yeah, there's no shortage of things that are going on Capitol Hill today. We started off with our Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, was here this morning. We rolled into a meeting with Coach Beamer, and then, of course, the hearing and some votes. And now we've got the president addressing the nation tonight at 9 o'clock. And so it's going to be one of those days.
Yeah.
But thanks for having me.
Well,
Great
thank
to be
you.
here.
Thank you for your office reaching out, and glad you could join us for a couple of minutes. So just fill us in on what you thought of today's hearing, kind of what you took away from it, and where you go from here.
Well, I think if we're talking college athletics, we're all fans of college athletics. Obviously, the Gamecocks for me personally, but everyone has their school, their flavor. People just like the sport. They like college sports generally. And what we've seen, obviously, as your listeners know, is just this wild west of NIL. Ever since players have been allowed to be paid based on a ruling by the court a couple of years ago, you've really seen kind of a really vastly changing dynamic within college sports. And, you hear from players, you hear from coaches, you hear from the conferences, and of course you hear from the NCAA that the current model is not sustainable, that it is kind of wrecking the intent of the college athlete, the student athlete, and how are we going to go about fixing it? And I'm a kind of a small government conservative, but I also recognize, and I think most of us do on both sides of this equation, that the current trajectory is not sustainable, that we've got to fix it and do it in a way that I think allows the players and the schools and the conferences to breathe and to set their own guidelines. And Congress doesn't need to over-legislate this, but they can do things that really help college sports in general in this new world that we call NIL.
Yeah. We're doing a lot of dancing around this thing, Congressman, and in typical college fashion, they want to do one thing but call it something else. They insist on calling them student athletes when we know that they're more athletes than students. And now they know they're getting paid. They're getting paid coming out of high school. They're getting paid when they get there, and they're going to be getting paid while they are in school. I mean, they're getting paid. Are we going to get to the point where they're going to be looked at as employees, and we're going to have to address it that way? I know Coach Beamer, in his comments to you guys today, said that's something he doesn't want to see happen. But I see, unless they get some kind of protections from Congress, I don't see any other way around it.
No, I think him going to an employee status is the wrong move, right? An employer, you can be fired on the spot. I mean, college athletics is a little bit different. These coaches care for the players. They care for the people in the sports. And so it is a different dynamic. And something to think about, too, even for those that say, well, maybe we should go that route. Well, you're going to explode the workforce within the universities, and you're going to shut down certain college sports within the athletic departments. And so that, to me, employee status is a non-starter. Where I think you need to go is that you have to have some sort of federal preemption, which means that states aren't carving out their own laws. So you've got a patchwork right now of 50 different state laws that touch NIL. You've got states that are offering protectionist measures to prop up the institutions within their own states, and of course, the players and the coaches and everybody else is trying to navigate what does this state say compared to that state. So you've got to have the preemption. That seemed to be universally agreed to today amongst the witnesses that we had. You can't do the employee status, and you've got to make sure that, with this settlement coming down, that some of those provisions are incorporated within the broader structure of a law. To me, I think Congress's role should be minor, set the preemption, make sure that there's no employee status, give some liability protection so that the conferences and the players and the NCAA can set their own rules that they all agree to, and then we're basically out of it. I think it's a pretty simple fix in my mind, but obviously it's Washington, D.C. But that seems to be a lot of the witnesses, even from some of the student athletes that we heard from today, is there was a gentleman who played college football at a small school, and he said being an employee is the wrong way. I don't want to be an employee of a university. I want to enjoy my college career in football. I want to do what I came to school to do, and at the end of it, I want to be a better man because of my my career at my university.
Yeah. But, of course, he's speaking from if he was a smaller school, maybe like Division II or something like that. I mean, I think we're kind of talking apples and oranges when you talk about Division II, and then you talk about the high level SEC,
No,
ACC.
no,
No,
we're
no.
no, we're not. 'Cause there was another, there was a lady there that was, track and field, and she was at a big school. And so what we're seeing, we filed a bill last year on this. We're seeing broad support for kind of these cornerstones of an NIL legislation. And I think the employee status, what you're going to see if you go that way, if you go to an employee model, you're going to see athletic departments shut down certain sports. You're going to see some athletic departments just go under altogether, not just big schools, but also small schools. So I think people recognize the unsustainability of where we're at in the college athletic sphere.
Yeah. Well, I hear you. Now, Justin Falcinelli was there, the former Clemson lineman, and he's representing the athletes, I believe. He's the head of their organization. Are they not kind of pushing, or is his organization not kind of pushing for more of a employee-employer relationship?
They are. He doesn't represent athletes. He represents college football athletes, at least what purports to be that.
Yeah.
And so his stance was vastly different than, we had an athletic director there from Illinois. We had other students that were engaged in their various sports. So his message was vastly different than the rest. And so I think he's, to some degree, a little bit of an outlier as far as where Congress's head is at.
Yeah, okay. Talking with Representative Russell Fry for a couple more minutes. My concern is, how is this going to be, the model that we're talking about with NIL, sustainable in that the schools keep asking their fan base to give the money, and like when they have a losing season, for example, Gamecock basketball having a losing season, and what's the word coming out of their camp? Well, we've got to have more NIL to go out and buy better players. And so now you're asking the fans to dig deeper, to give more money for NIL, on top of which, of course, you're asking them to pay to be a member of the Gamecock Club and to buy luxury suites and to, pay for anything else that is required. How long do you think the fans will continue to support that kind of model, especially if you're not having winning teams? And not everybody's going to be a winner.
No, and not everyone's going to have an NIL collective either, right? We've already seen that in some schools, and so we're not mandating that NILs are part of the equation. We're not saying that every school has to have an NIL, but if you choose to have one, that's the free market. That's up to your fan base. Obviously, South Carolina, they enjoy great success. I'm sure they raise more money when they have a successful season than when they don't. But there are schools that just do not have an NIL. They don't want one. It doesn't fit their business model. It doesn't fit their model. They're not able to raise the capital to do it. But for schools that do it, there are things out there in that space. Obviously, the legal landscape is that this is absolutely allowed. College players can go do this. We just want to make sure that there are, I would say, sufficient guardrails that you don't have states that are doing their own thing, that are propping up their institutions artificially, and that you've got kind of an equal playing field. The settlement that is coming down most likely in April on what they call it the House settlement, that's going to set a lot of the terms. But absent that, we're not in the business of, mandating, and we're not going to mandate that schools have an NIL. That's completely up to the institution on whether they think it fits with what they're trying to do.
So one thing you would like to see done is, like, you have some states that are passing laws saying that the athletes don't have to pay taxes on their NIL dollars, giving them breaks, and it creates kind of a competition among states. That is something you would like to see eliminated so that there's not this competition among states representing their schools?
Correct. Have one federal standard, have one federal blueprint that allows for – look, schools choose the conferences a lot of times. Conferences choose the schools. People choose to be part of different – the NCAA is the most prominent one, but there are others. And so let them come up with the rules in which they want to play. Let Congress get out of that we would do, an antitrust or limited liability, that we would preempt state law. which we do for a number of things. That's what, Congress has, under the Constitution, the ability to regulate interstate commerce. This would qualify for that. And so for me, do enough to let the universities and the players and all the parties involved dictate their rules. And so if they choose to do an NIL, great. Players just want to go play for a small school for a scholarship, then they can do that. If they're incredibly talented and want to use those talents and go earn some money from an NIL perspective, they can do that. Congress's role should be limited here, but I think the preemption and the limited liability are key.
And what is the next step in your legislation?
Well, I think right now, so we're having hearings up here with different people that are involved in the space. We've got another one in a different committee next week. So there are thoughts out there and bills being formulated. But the idea behind this is that let the experts that are on the field color the decisions that we make to make sure that, Congress screws up a lot, but make sure that whatever we do up here is sensible to the parties involved.
Your position is you want minimal interference by Congress.
Minimal. I think that there is a space for it. I think we've got to act for sure. But, when you start going into regulating every little thing, you start to lose support and you start to make it way more cumbersome and problematic than it needs to be.
Congressman?
So let the schools figure that out, let the players figure that out, and let's get college sports back on track.
But you, when I say you, Congress, part of what you're saying is you would provide some kind of protection so that the rules that they do put in place can be abided by and not create legal situations that would lead to lawsuits and things like that.
Well, every time that anybody acts and wants to either enforce a rule, change a rule, think about a rule, they're sued, right? One state sues one way, another state sues another, and you're seeing some real financial costs on these institutions. And what does that do? When you don't have the money and the resources for, the equestrian team, you cut the equestrian team, right? So these are realities that these universities are facing, both big schools and small, and the conferences. And the net result is that you have less people playing in college sports than you did yesterday. And that's not good for those of us who care about the future of college sports.
Coach Beamer give you some insight on his football team?
Oh yeah, he's real proud of them. I mean, he's a player-focused coach, and he's real excited about the upcoming season. I think obviously he took the day to come up to Capitol Hill today because he cares, and he was happy to speak out. But tomorrow he gets back to work.
Clemson fans want to know when you're going to have Dabo Swinney up there.
Well, Dabo's got to call the office. He wants to come up. Come on up, Dabo.
Is that how it works? They have to call you.
No. Well, look, we welcome them all. We welcome the viewpoints. I think that's important. Is he's got a different perspective, probably similar to Coach Beamer, but he's got a different perspective, and we want to hear that. We want to be informed about the decisions that we make and the impacts that it's going to have on college athletics just generally. And so, we've talked to any number, including Coach Dabo, of course. We've talked to him about this as well, but any number of people involved in this space, making sure that we're making the right decision and letting them use their voice to educate primarily those of us in Congress who aren't coaches at a university.
Sure. Hey, we thank you very much, Congressman. Great stuff. If we can, let's keep in touch as things happen. Love to have you back on with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you, sir. Have a great evening. Okay, Congressman Russell Fry from down the Myrtle Beach area. And there you go as far as it's still kind of a complicated deal to me. But he certainly made it clear that the idea of one day college athletes being considered employees of universities, that's not going to happen. That idea is not going anywhere. At least in his mind, and the guardrails, whatever guardrails that Congress can enact, I guess, to help all this come together, we'll see what they can finally come up with and see what they can finally get into place. Whatever kind of protections they can come up with. I think that's what they're kind of working on here, is to come up with a system that will work and also, of course, protect and prevent various legal action to break it up. I guess maybe short of giving them the exemptions like the legacy pro leagues have, but something similar. Okay, be right back.
I'm State Treasurer Curtis Loftus. Whether it's becoming a teacher, dentist, or engineer, every child deserves the chance to chase their dreams. Investing in a child's education with Future Scholar, South Carolina's 529 College Savings Plan, can help turn those big dreams into next steps. So don't wait. You can start with any amount. Contributions are tax deductible and earnings grow tax-free. Discover the smart, easy way to save for college at futurescholar.com.
Imagine a scrapbook filled with all your favorite memories of 75 years at Darlington Raceway. Now imagine that scrapbook going 190 miles per hour.
Have you ever? No, I've never.
You don't have to imagine it. You need to get to Darlington, where the drivers of today tackle the track too tough to tame, just like they did your first time. NASCAR Throwback Weekend at Darlington Raceway, April 5th and 6th. Get your tickets now at darlingtonraceway.com. Discover South Carolina.
Stay tuned. More Sports Talk is coming up on the Sports Talk Media Network.
Hey, South Carolina, get ready for the ultimate fishing event. Major League Fishing's Bass Pro Tour is coming to Lake Murray. Join fans of all ages at the Fishing Show, Watch Party, and Trophy Ceremony, Saturday and Sunday, March 8th and 9th at Dreer Island, both days starting at 1 o'clock. Meet the world's top anglers. Enjoy free food and win amazing prizes. Meet Paw Patrol, Sky, and Marshall. And the first 50 kids 14 and under get a free Abu Garcia rod and reel each day. It's all happening at Dreer Island State Park, March 8th and 9th. Get all the info at MajorLeagueFishing.com/attend.
One lottery ticket makes a big difference for our state students. And when I say big, I mean bigger than jackpot big. Since 2002, South Carolina students have benefited from more than $6 billion in lottery-funded scholarships and grants, including the Life, Hope, and Palmetto Fellow Scholarships. With every lottery play, you're supporting our students, and that adds up in a big way. That's why education is our middle name. Learn more at sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
All right, thanks again to Congressman Russell Fry for joining us here on Sports Talk. If you missed any of it, we'll have it up on the website later and also up on SoundCloud and our other podcasts outlets as well. Okay, let's update some things going on over at the Colonial Life Arena. They are at halftime already. Fast-moving first half. 40-29, Georgia leading South Carolina. Georgia shooting 53% to 34% for the Gamecocks. The Gamecocks 5 of 13 from 3. Georgia only 3 of 9. Neither team shooting a lot of free throws. 5 of 6 for Georgia, 2 of 2 for South Carolina. And Georgia winning on the boards 19-13, 16-3 off the bench for Georgia. Georgia leading in the paint 14-10. Leading scorers, South Carolina, Murray Boyles has 8 points, 5 rebounds, and that's in 18 minutes. And he leads the Gamecocks. Wright has 6, Davis has 6, Pringle has 6. For Georgia, Demery has 10, including a pair of threes, and he is the only scorer in double figures. So Georgia up on South Carolina 40-29 at halftime. Coastal Carolina, Southern Miss, first round game of the Sun Belt Tournament in Pensacola. They are tied at 29 at halftime. All right, to baseball. Clemson and Upstate are playing this afternoon at Fluor Field in Greenville. They are scoreless, and the Tigers are without a hit in the fourth inning, in the top of the fourth. Clemson is the visiting team, and they have not yet gotten a hit. Upstate only has 2 hits itself, so scoreless game, top of the fourth, and pitching for Clemson, McGovern started, and now Bailey has come on for the Tigers. For Upstate, Phillips started, and now Kuski is on for Upstate. So they are scoreless, top of the fourth. South Carolina and Davidson, they are underway over at Founders Park, Ray Tanner Field, scoreless in the top of the second between South Carolina and Davidson. And Davidson has 1 hit. The Gamecocks do not have a hit. The Gamecocks have already committed an error. And looking at the lineup tonight, Bo Hollins is starting at first base. Gavin Braylon is starting behind the plate. Ryder Guarino is your starting pitcher tonight for South Carolina. Wojta is the DH. Petrie is in right field. Blake Jackson is in left. Nathan Hall is in center. Scobie is back at third. Kazmar is at short. So a little bit of a shakeup there by the Gamecocks, trying to find some offense. Davidson is threatening in the top of the second. Runners on the corners, and they have nobody out against the Gamecocks. Coastal Carolina and North Carolina in Chapel Hill, they are 4-4 in the top of the 11th. Coastal tied it up in the 9th to force extra frames. Mitchell, with a 1-out single to center, tied the game for the Chanticleers after North Carolina had taken the lead with Coastal led early 3-0. North Carolina tied it up 3-3, took the lead in the bottom of the 8th 4-3, and then Coastal tied it in the top of the 9th 4-4, and that's where they are in the top of the 9th inning, and they are tied. And we'll give you some other baseball in the next hour as we update some of the other games going on around the state. Coming up, we will have some comments from Clemson linebacker Wade Woodaz as spring football practice continues at Clemson. Josh Harris will join us as well. We'll talk some NASCAR with him. And we will update recruiting for you as well in our next hour. We'll be back after this break.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting. Reactions coming in from Congress on the tariffs President Trump has imposed on Canada, Mexico, and China. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer.
These tariffs are going to cost huge amounts to the American people. They're not thought out. They're willy-nilly. They're against some of our closest allies and not against people we need. So the trade policies have to be improved because Donald Trump's screwing them up so badly.
While Speaker Mike Johnson says President Trump is right to impose tariffs on foreign trading partners.
He would often correct us. He'd say, yes, free trade, but fair trade. And he made a great point. I mean, a lot of people had blinders on. There was all these countries around the world that have taken advantage of America. The America First agenda is to reset those relationships.
President Trump will address a joint session of Congress this evening at 9 p.m. Eastern Time on this and other topics, including the recent dust-up over Ukraine. House Speaker Mike Johnson has some advice to GOP lawmakers.
House Speaker Mike Johnson is telling Republicans to skip town halls after an onslaught of protests. Johnson says the demonstrations are fueled by paid protesters. The Speaker's advice comes as GOP lawmakers often find themselves at a loss to explain the Trump administration's cuts, led by billionaire Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency. Many federal workers have lost their jobs from coast to coast. President Trump posted on social media on Monday that paid troublemakers are filling the GOP town halls. House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries says the Democrats don't need paid protesters, saying, quote, "The American people are with us." I'm Mike Hempen.
On Wall Street, the Dow down by 670 points, the Nasdaq dropping 65, with the S&P 500 index lower by 71. More at townhall.com.
The words you are about to hear are taken from letters sent in by members of the Trinity Debt Management Program.
Dear Trinity, today I'm making my final credit card payment.
Before I came to you, I was in a constant state of anxiety and panic, but now there is hope for my family's financial future.
Working with Trinity made me understand that I'm not alone.
You really do help people.
Your kindness will never be forgotten. Without Trinity's support, I would not have achieved my lifelong goal of becoming debt-free.
We saved a lot on interest and penalties, of course, but the reward was the gift of human kindness.
Trinity has carried me through a very difficult time in my life. You're amazing.
I used to feel so anxious and hopeless. Now I feel grace and peace.
God bless Trinity as you continue to help others become debt-free.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976. That's 1-800-990-6976.
Australia mourns the death of a man whose blood donations gave life to the unborn.
James Harrison had an aversion to needles, but the plasma of the retired state railway department clerk contained a rare antibody that can protect unborn babies. Harrison made 1,173 donations after he turned 18 in 1954, until he was forced to retire in 2018 at the age of 81. He is credited with saving 2.4 million babies. His grandson says, as humble as he was, the 88-year-old Harrison did like the attention, but he would never do it for the attention. I'm Ed Donahue.
A cybercrime crew stole then resold more than 900 digital tickets to Taylor Swift concerts and other pricey events. New York prosecutors say the international scam involved people working in Jamaica for StubHub. News and analysis at townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. We are very mild this evening with a low of 61. Tomorrow, the rain starts around sunrise. It'll be heavy. Some storms, some severe wind gusts, too. It's a short event. The skies will clear in the afternoon. The high temperature is 73. And then Thursday, the sunshine returns, but we're cooler with a high of just 59. I'm Cal Moss with your on-point local weather.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point. This is The Point. Make thepointradio.com.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil and Chris with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
Okay, back we are. Sports Talk Media Network. Phone number 888-898-2525. South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number for you to reach us here on Sports Talk. I know we've been so busy, tied up, haven't even had a chance to look at the phone lines. We can take some phone calls here for a little bit if you want to join us. Talk about what Representative Fry have to say. And if you understand where this thing is moving. Comments on the settlement, ACC, Clemson, Florida State. Your thoughts on that? maybe any reaction to anything I had to say about it. 888-898-2525 is our phone number. Don't forget our text line number, which is 803-900-4847, 803-900-4847. Take care of some business here. 42-35 Georgia on top of South Carolina, 15:47 to play. First media timeout. USC outscoring Georgia 6-2 so far in the second half. Murray Boyles is up to 11 points to lead the Gamecocks. They're going to need somebody else to step up and get them some points. Wright, Davis, and Pringle each have 6. But it's like the other game, the other day they beat Arkansas. Murray Boyles had 35, and I think Pringle had, 15 or so? And nobody else was in double digits. Need a little bit better balance than that, I would say, if you're going to beat this Georgia team. 42-35, Georgia is leading. At the half, Coastal and Southern Miss, they are 29-29. Second half has yet to start. Should be getting underway here shortly. Kentucky out to a 10-2 lead on LSU. Georgia Tech over Miami early 4-3. North Carolina leads Virginia Tech 11-8. Baseball, Davidson with a 3-0 lead on South Carolina. They're in the bottom of the second, and no one on, no one out. Bottom of the second. So we'll see what happens. For the Gamecocks there, they have committed one error. They have left one base runner thus far. Coastal in North Carolina, 4-4, bottom of the 11th. In Chapel Hill, North Carolina, no one out, runner on first. Clemson and Upstate, top of the 5th, they are scoreless. And top of the 5th, Clemson is batting. No one is out. Tigers do not yet have a hit. Upstate has 3 hits but no runs, so they are scoreless there. We'll update some other baseball for you. Wake Forest leading Appalachian 14-6. That's in the bottom of the 9th. Boston College 11-7 over Longwood, bottom of the 8th. Arkansas 10-1 over ULM, bottom of the 7th. Winthrop leading Oklahoma State 2-1. That's in the bottom of the 7th. Alabama 6-1 over Jacksonville State. That's in the bottom of the 7th. Georgia Southern leading Charleston Southern 1-0, bottom of the 4th. Kentucky 2-0 over Eastern Kentucky, top of the 4th. Florida State 4-1 over North Florida, bottom of the 3rd. UTSA, Texas A&M, they are scoreless in the first. Radford is leading Tennessee 4-2. That won't last. Radford is leading Tennessee 4-2, bottom of the 3rd. Miami and FAU are scoreless early. And Wofford and Presbyterian, PC defeats Wofford 4-3. Duke beat North Carolina A&T 13-1. NC State 10-0 over Greensboro. Virginia Tech 13-0 over Norfolk State. All right, so you're up to date on all of that. Let's see if there's anything else to update you here before we move on. I think we've done all that. A few other notes to talk about today. South Carolina women, they shot 2 under par today in round 2 of the Darius Rutger Intercollegiate at Hilton Head to move into a first-place tie with Arkansas at 5 over. USC's Louise Ridquist, 2 under par round today, and is in second place at 1 under, 1 shot off the lead. I mean, this South Carolina women's golf team, man, if they can't win the national championship this year, I mean, I know the competition is tough. But they've got 3 All-American caliber players, I would say. And the match play thing's just been a problem for them, just putting it together when they get to match play. Wofford guard Chase Cormier is entering the transfer portal. He announced that today. Former South Carolina defensive back and Michigan State coach Mark D'Antonio and former Gamecock senior associate AD and now the AD at Middle Tennessee State, Chris Massaro, and former Panthers tight end Wesley Walls were among the new folks named to the College Football Playoff Selection Committee. The committee chairman will be Baylor AD Mack Rhodes. Boy, does he know what his life's going to be like for the next couple of years? It's going to be a living hell. I mean, you know, the criticism, the scrutiny that these guys and ladies, they go through. Stepping off the committee will be Chet Gladchuk, Jim Grobe, Will Shields, Kelly Whiteside. Gary Pinkel had already stepped down. Pinkel or Pinkel? Gary Pinkel, former coach at Missouri. And also stepping down, whose time is up on the committee, is, I got to find his first name here, Mark D'Antonio, Christmas, Sarah Wesley Walls, the new Manuel. All I have here is the last. Ward Manuel. Okay, Ward Manuel, who was the chair, so he's off the committee. Also going onto the committee is former sports writer Ivan Maisel. Very knowledgeable guy with a feel for things all across the country. Big time writer. So you got a little representation there of actual former coaches, administrators, media, former college and pro standout. Yeah, I got a lot of different representation on there. SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey said on an SEC TV show that he's still in favor of moving to a 9-game schedule, but he added a caveat, not at the expense of opportunity. In other words, what he's concerned about is you play 9 conference games, you stand to have more losses, and he doesn't want those losses to impact the opportunity for SEC teams to get to the playoffs. So, I mean, how do you feel about that? How do we feel about losses? I mean, shouldn't losses, I think Chris Bergen and I are of the same mind here, shouldn't losses mean something? I mean, losing to good teams, okay, fine. And you have teams from other weaker leagues, and they have losses. And the thought is, well, you know, you have 3 losses in the SEC. That's better. That's a better record than having, say, 2 losses or 1 loss in a corresponding league. And, you know, I don't know. I'm like, a loss is a loss. Should you benefit from a loss? You know, the systems that we use, like the net ranking and all these different rankings, the idea of benefiting from what is a good loss, benefiting from a loss on the road to a good team. I mean, since when should you benefit from a loss? A loss is a loss. That's why I'm stupefied. Is that a word? Yeah, it's a word. Yeah, it is. Stupefied's a word. Look it up. That's why I'm stupefied, or just plain stupid. Now look that up. Stupefied's a word. Yeah, it is. STUPIFIED. It's not a word. Anyway, I'm puzzled. What is it?
Stupefied's not a word, but you can stupefy somebody.
Well, then you can be stupefied.
No, you can be stupefied, but it's not the same meaning.
Okay. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, like I'll use Arkansas basketball. Joe Lunardi still has Arkansas basketball in the NCAA tournament, and not like Final Four, but like in. And I'm thinking to myself, how? They're 6-10 in the SEC going into this week. They're guaranteed a losing SEC record. 10 league losses, all because you're in the SEC, and those are good losses because they've lost to ranked teams. Well, losing is losing. Losses should mean something. You shouldn't benefit from losing to a good team, home or away, the way I see it. But we have just watered it down, give everybody a trophy kind of mentality. And, I mean, it's just a waste of time with some of these teams getting in. I know Greg Sankey the czar of czars, is doing everything he can to make sure that the SEC gets more and more teams in every event. I mean, Lunardi had, in his last update, I got it right here. In his last update, he had 3 ACC teams in, locks, as he put it: Duke, Clemson, and Louisville. And then he's got North Carolina, first 4 out, Wake Forest, next 4 out, and SMU, next 4 out. We'll take North Carolina, for example. Right now, they're on a heater. Now, we'll see what they do the end of this week when they play Duke at home. But North Carolina, if they win their other game this week, I think they'll have 20 wins, and they'll have a winning ACC record. But you'll take an Arkansas team. He's got Arkansas. He has got he's got 10 SEC locks and 12 total for the SEC. He's got Georgia in as of right now. He's got Arkansas in. All right, I was wrong. He's got them in as a last 4. He's got Oklahoma first team out of the tournament. So that's another SEC team. I mean, losing used to mean something. Losing used to mean you paid a penalty for losing. But if you're in the right league, you lose enough games to the right teams, it still won't hurt you. I don't know. That's an odd way of looking at things, if you ask me. And a lot of people do ask me, and I tell them what? Yeah, they do. A lot of people ask me. You might not, but I'm talking to the plumber here. But I get asked that question all the time. Daggum right. SEC Women's Postseason Awards announced today. These are the official awards by the league. So your player of the year is Madison Booker of Texas. Your freshman of the year is Michaela Blakes of Vanderbilt. Newcomer of the year is Georgia Amoore from Kentucky. Defensive player of the year is Clara Strack, Kentucky. 6th woman of the year, Malaysia Fulwiley. And coach of the year is Vic Schaefer from Texas. On the first team, all-conference team, South Carolina placed Joyce Edwards. On the second team, they placed Fulwiley and Tahina Paupau. And Edwards also made the all-defensive team, as did Raven Johnson. Boy, how good is Joyce Edwards going to be over the next 3 years at South Carolina? Get the statue ready, huh? Get the statue ready. All right, we'll do recruiting when we come back after the break. Gotten a little tighter at the CLA, 46-41 now. Georgia leading South Carolina. Gamecocks winning the second half, 12-6. They're shooting 50% in the second half. Murray Boyles is up to 14 points in the second half, 46-41. Baseball, 3-0 Davidson, bottom of the third. North Carolina has beaten Coastal 5-4, and Clemson now leads Upstate 3-0.
We're with Major Billy Downer of the Department of Natural Resources. Major Downer, it's hunting season in South Carolina this fall, and folks need to be prepared from a legal standpoint.
That's right, Phil. Everyone always needs to buy their hunting license or fishing license. Everyone always worries about losing their license. Well, now that's not a problem anymore because you can keep your license on your phone. That's right. Go Outdoors SC. It's an app. Look for it on your Apple or Android devices. You can buy your license, you can renew your boat registration, and it's all right there on your phone. Remember, Go Outdoors SC in your app store.
I'm attorney Jim Corbett. I'm not a case manager. I'm a lawyer for over 35 years. I don't charge 40% for your injury in your wreck case or any on-the-job injury. Call 803-765-2968 and ask for Jim Corbett, or email me, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com, for the experience of a lawyer handling your injury case. Jim Corbett, 803-765-2968. jim@jimcorbettattorney.com. Put 35 years of experience to work on your injury case.
Hey, South Carolina, get ready for the ultimate fishing event, Major League Fishing's Bass Pro Tour. Tour is coming to Lake Murray. Join fans of all ages at the fishing show, watch party, and trophy ceremony Saturday and Sunday, March 8th and 9th at Dreher Island, both days starting at 1 o'clock. Meet the world's top anglers, enjoy free food, and win amazing prizes. Meet Paw Patrol, Sky, and Marshall, and the first 50 kids 14 and under get a free Abu Garcia rod and reel each day. It's all happening at Dreher Island State Park, March 8th and 9th. Get all the info at MajorLeagueFishing.com/attend.
G3 here with Tsunami Bar Sports, and it's time for a fall preview. That's right, 720 Chris Drive, 378 and I-26, Frontage Road, where you can now preview the best technology for golf known to man. It's the Tsunami Bar. It's live weight. It's the only technology out where you get your tempo and flow going before you play. Now, it also serves as a pattern support tool. 720 Chris Drive, Frontage Road, 378 and I-26. You also can visit the Garage Gym Pro Shop. Pick up your tools, take them home, and while you're here, tour the Scramble Course 6-hole pitch and putt right now.
The Sports Talk Recruiting Report is sponsored by Seawell's Catering.
All right, time for recruiting on this Tuesday edition of Sports Talk, brought to you by Seawell's. I am not stupefied over what Seawell's will be serving.
Well, we looked it up over the break. I would not say you're stupefied over anything.
I know what it means, and it works for me. The daily luncheon buffet at Seawell's. It's awesome, baby. Go check it out. What do we have?
Sliced beef brisket, chicken pot pie, and fried fish nuggets tomorrow. Thursday, hamburger, steak and onions, fried pork chops, and baked flounder fillets. And then it's a big roast beef Friday on at Seawell's with honey barbecue and hot chicken wings and pulled pork.
Thank you, Plumber.
And southern fried chicken every day.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Also awesome is the service that you get from Seawell's for that special event. Like you've got a graduation coming up. I suggest you call Seawell's to handle your big event. And then, once you go to college and you meet a girl, then you're going to have an engagement party. So I suggest you call Seawell's for your engagement party. I'd make my uncle pay for that. I'd make the landlord pay for that. But then you'll have your big wedding, and you're going to want Seawell's to handle that as well.
That I will.
So make your plans. Just call Seawell's at 803-771-7385. Online at SeawellsCateringSC.com. Clemson, Monday, offered wide receiver Craig Dandridge, 6'1", 170, Milton, Georgia. He was official last season, 57 catches, 1,443 yards, 14 touchdowns. He also has offers from Stanford, East Carolina, Boston College, Duke, Tennessee, Georgia, West Virginia, Vanderbilt, Wake Forest, Georgia Tech, Cincinnati, and Oklahoma. Also yesterday, running back Carson Baker of Fairburn, Georgia, was offered by Clemson while he was in for a visit. He is also a top target for USC, where he visited in January. He plans to visit Florida State March 22nd. He has other official visits set with Florida State May 30th, Ohio State June 13th, and Texas A&M on June 20th. I should say he has official visits set, not other. Those are his three. Offensive tackle Maxwell Riley of Avon Lake, Ohio, who is down to Clemson and Ohio State, has set spring visits to Clemson March 24th and Ohio State April 1st. He'll get a chance to meet up with the new O-line coach at Ohio State. Linebacker Caden Henderson, 6'2", 200 of Tampa, plans to visit Clemson March 29th. He also has spring visits set with Miami, Florida, Florida State, Ohio State, Alabama, and Southern Cal. Defensive tackle Elijah Golden of Sarasota, Florida, plans to visit Clemson Saturday for the Junior Day. He also has spring visits planned with Virginia Tech, Alabama, and Notre Dame. Linebacker Tyler Atkinson, Loganville, Georgia, plans to attend the Clemson Junior Day this Saturday. Clemson is one of the schools on his short list along with Tennessee, Florida State, Georgia, Alabama, LSU, Texas, Auburn, Ohio State, North Carolina. Clemson target wide receiver Connor Salmon will take an official visit to Stanford. Wide receiver Ryan Mosley from Carrollton, Georgia, highly recruited prospect at this point. And he will be visiting Clemson this Saturday and South Carolina on March 21st among his spring stops, according to Rivals. The other trips will be Georgia, March 11th, Texas A&M, March 27th, Florida, April 4th, Florida State, April 5th, Tennessee, April 7th, Alabama, April 8th, and Penn State, April 18th. Mosley also has officials with Georgia, May 30th, USC, June 6th, and A&M, June 13th. Offensive tackle Ben Congdon of Ohio, who drew some interest and a January visit from Clemson OL coach Matt Luke, committed to Miami. Dorman safety Kentavian Anderson was offered by Florida, and he plans to visit Clemson this Saturday. He has a short list: Clemson, USC, Michigan, Virginia, Kentucky, Indiana. Also planning to visit USC and Southern Cal this spring. 2027 offensive tackle Nate Carson of Irma was offered by Alabama yesterday while on a visit. He also has offers from USC, Florida State, Virginia Tech, and Georgia State. Also, a couple of other recruiting items for you, and we'll get to those in just a second. Once the mice get up to speed in our little internet cage, go faster. Defensive tackle Bryce Perry Wright plans to attend the Clemson Junior Day this Saturday. He's a big Clemson target out of Georgia. And with that, we conclude the recruiting report for this Tuesday, brought to you by Seawells. Okay, let's give you an update. Georgia back up 10, 57-47 at the under 8 timeout. 8-0 run over the last 97 seconds. And 3 of 3 on their field goals during that little stretch. And Georgia now up to 44% shooting in the second half. USC down to 46% shooting. Murray Boyle still at 14 points, same as when we did our last update. So it is Georgia up by 10. Also, Coastal Carolina up by Coastal Carolina. Oh, come on. They certainly have started the second half by now. Come on, ESPN, lousy scoreboard. 46-40, Coastal Carolina leading Southern Miss with 11:39 to play. Kentucky 30, LSU 10. 7.5 minutes left in the first. Make that 7 minutes left in the first and make it 30-12. Georgia Tech leading Miami 23-16 late in the first half. North Carolina and Virginia Tech 21-21. So if North Carolina wins, they're 20-11, 13-6. There is no way in hell a 20-win, 13 ACC win North Carolina team does not make the NCAA tournament. No way. I will eat a brick. I will eat a brick if that happens. You mark it down. Baseball, 3-1 Davidson over South Carolina, 3-0 Clemson over Upstate.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. We are very mild this evening with a low of 61. Tomorrow, the rain starts around sunrise. It'll be heavy. Some storms, some severe wind gusts, too. It's a short event. The skies will clear in the afternoon. The high temperature is 73. And then Thursday, the sunshine returns, but we're cooler with a high of just 59. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
Dave Ramsey here. Do you want your money to work for you rather than you working for your money? Go see my friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're not a mega bank and have been serving the Midlands since 1936, offering good old-fashioned customer service and free services. They'll look out for your financial well-being. With 14 locations, check them out today at palmettocitizens.org. Federally insured by the NCUA.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting powerful storms have torn the roofs off an apartment building and nursing home in Oklahoma, damaged schools and apartment buildings in Texas, and threatened communities across the nation. Tuesday's large system brought blinding dust storms to the southwest, blizzards with whiteout conditions to the Midwest, and raised fears of wildfires. President Trump's 25% tariffs on imports from Canada and Mexico went into effect Tuesday, along with a heightened 20% levy on Chinese goods. In response, all three countries announced retaliatory measures. Experts say businesses and consumers will feel the biggest impact. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 670 points, the Nasdaq dropping 65, with the S&P 500 index lower by 71. More details at srnnews.com.
I sure like to brag about good local businesses. Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning is a great local biz. Josh and his team stress customer service as their top priority. Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning came out to my house. I had a toilet that wasn't working right, a garbage disposal that died. They came out right on time, told me everything they were going to do, and explained the price of each repair before even bringing in the tools. I knew exactly what I was getting and exactly what it would cost. Their prices are fair, their team is courteous and professional, plus they did a great job fixing what needed fixing in my home. I am very careful about making any recommendations, and I'm thrilled and confident to suggest you call Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning for any plumbing needs. If it's a repair or to replace something, if it's that tankless water heater that you've always wanted to give you that endless hot water and save you some money. They unclog drain and sewer lines and so much more. Online, you'll find them at franklinplumbing.sc.com, or just give Josh and those great folks a phone call, 799-2222. That's 799-2222, and tell them you heard about them from here at The Point.
Hey y'all, this is Ted from Flight Deck Restaurant. We'd like to invite you and your family to dine with us. We have a great menu that's sure to please your whole family. We have fresh cooked burgers, big juicy wings, blue plate menu featuring country cooking, oven baked hoagies, fresh crisp salads, authentic Greek food like gyros, souvlaki, and baklava. We also carry 20 different premium cheesecakes and pies. Flight Deck Restaurant also has an arcade with 30 different games like Star Wars, Batman, Skee Ball, Bass Wheel, Pac-Man, Galaga, and so much more. Flight Deck, your favorite family restaurant. Thanks y'all and God bless.
Tradition and quality. That's what you get with H&J Cattle Company, where local third-generation farmers ensure you receive the finest beef in South Carolina. Our registered Hereford and Wagyu cattle are raised with sustainable practices without growth hormones, antibiotics, or animal byproducts. Taste the difference with the highest quality beef guaranteed. Order now at HandJCattle.com or on Instagram and Facebook at H&J Cattle. Again, HandJCattle.com, where ethics meets quality.
Hey honey, I just picked up your dad's meds at True Pharmacy.
Great. I hate that he can't read the small print on the bottles anymore.
No worries, John put on new SportsTalk labels.
What's that?
It's a special label on your dad's prescription bottles that comes with a little listening device. And when he puts the bottle on it, the device reads the whole prescription label out loud.
Wow, how much does that cost?
That's the best part. SportsTalk is free. True Pharmacy, the pharmacy that truly cares. Come see us at our new location at 623 Beltline Boulevard or Triangle Pharmacy in West Columbia.
This is Fran Halloran, the Money Coach. Grow with The Point as we build on 10 incredible years of community local radio. We've built an environment where our listeners are our family. Are you a small business with big dreams? Join the tremendous stable of advertising partners at The Point. Connect with Kevin Cohen and brainstorm a tailored strategy to escalate your business growth using the powerful platform of The Point. Call Kev directly at 563-8558. Teaming with The Point, you can make the next year your best year.
Well, today we didn't have to drive into Darlington County. Darlington came to us here in the capital city over at the governor's mansion. It was Darlington Day, NASCAR Recognition Day by the governor and Mrs. Governor and the lieutenant governor and other dignitaries, including the president of Darlington Raceway, Josh Harris, who joins us now. And we're going to hear from Austin Cindric coming up as well. He was there. I got to tell you, it's my first time seeing him up close. What a cool fellow. First of all, he's very tall to be a NASCAR driver, but the bow tie and just his look, very interesting guy.
Yeah, he's a really neat guy. I think 6'3", probably one of the taller drivers that we've got. Reminds me of a guy like Michael Waltrip, who's also a pretty tall driver from years past. But Austin's got a little bit of his own style, which I appreciate. Showed up with his bow tie, and I think he's just a cool cat. And we were certainly thankful to have him join us today at the governor's mansion to unveil his throwback paint scheme for Darlington and Throwback Weekend, the Goodyear 400 coming up in just over a month, and really kind of kicks off a month of hopefully what we'll see is a lot more teams unveiling their throwback schemes here in the next couple of weeks.
Absolutely. It was a great day. The weather turned out great. You had a really nice crowd, and everybody had really, really nice remarks. What does it mean to come to Columbia? You went around to the legislature for a while, the Capitol, then you were over at the governor's mansion. Just to be with political figures in the state to maybe express your appreciation and discuss Darlington and NASCAR with these folks. How important is that to you guys on a year-to-year basis?
It's extremely important. Just as much as we depend on the fans to come out and attend the races, bring their campers, camp out with us every race weekend. We're fortunate to have great support from our state leaders, both the governor, lieutenant governor, in the House and the Senate. So I think everyone appreciates the history and tradition of Darlington Raceway, the amount of tourism that we drive to the state and the PD region on an annual basis. And it's a great partnership that we have with those leaders in the state. So anytime we can get over to Columbia, give them a little taste and feel of Darlington in Columbia, kind of entice some folks to come on over to Darlington for our race weekends. That's what it's all about. Show our appreciation, give some great, cool photo opportunities. We had the 75th anniversary branded stock car there with us today, along with the Griffin Motors first entry into the very first Southern 500 back in 1950, a 1950 Oldsmobile. So such a cool contrast of cars, and then you layer on once we got over to the governor's mansion and Austin unveiling his throwback. It was a great day all around.
Absolutely. I would say this, too, to folks who are listening who've never been to Darlington but have thought about going. But, they might think, like Labor Day, so much going on, and it's hot, and it's a long race. The race that you've got coming up, the Goodyear 400, first of all, it's in April, first weekend. So temperature should be moderate, so it should be pleasant. Number two, it's a shorter race. So my suggestion is if you've never been to Darlington, this would be an excellent race to go to watch the big guys run and, not feel beaten down like maybe you feel after a 500-mile race on a hot Labor Day Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, well, that's what we're really aiming for with this, April 5th and 6th opening weekend this time is, little mild spring temperature, nice sunny skies, maybe about a 70-degree day. That would be phenomenal. And like you said, a 400-mile race, it's still tough on the competitors, but a little easier on our fans in terms of taking that one in. And it'll start at 3 in the afternoon. We'll be done by about 6:30. So not too late of a night either. And overall, the whole weekend as we celebrate the history and tradition of NASCAR and Darlington Raceway, with it being Throwback Weekend, see some cool paint schemes from past years. And then, you can't forget about the Sport Clips, haircuts, VFW Help a Hero 200 on Saturday. Another, 200-mile race for the NASCAR Xfinity Series. A lot of action, but in a very reasonable amount of time. I think it's a great weekend for our long-term fans, but also those that maybe, like you said, have been on the fence about checking it out. There's nothing like the sensory experience of being at a NASCAR race. So I would encourage you, if you've ever thought about it, this is the year. We're before the Masters. We're before the Heritage. It's perfect date in early spring, April 5th and 6th.
I agree. And I think everybody should go once. If you go once and you really let yourself hang out and get a feel for the place, there's no way you won't fall in love and come back for more. The paint scheme on the number 2 is a really cool look, isn't it?
It is. As a fan of the sport, when I was growing up, Dale Earnhardt, that famous black number 3 was my favorite driver, my favorite car. But Austin, it was really cool to see him go to that Wrangler paint scheme that Dale Earnhardt drove in 1980, that number 2. And that's what's such a cool thing about this paint scheme is it was actually driven in NASCAR as a number 2 by one of the toughest, competitors we've ever had in Dale Earnhardt. So I think really cool tribute to that legacy. Dale Earnhardt was a 9-time winner at Darlington Raceway, so certainly a lot of connection there as we've talked about our 75th anniversary. And then just a little nugget that I found out today is that paint scheme also won at Darlington in 1979 with David Pearson driving when Dale Earnhardt was out of the car and injured that year. So just some cool connections to Darlington and certainly one of the legends in our sport in Dale Earnhardt.
All right, so help me here. When Pearson won, was it in the number 2 or did it just have the paint scheme and a different number?
No, it was in the number 2. It was Earnhardt had gotten hurt that season and sat out a few races, and one of the races he sat out was Darlington, and David Pearson won while he was out. So it was a really cool little piece of that connects to our history. And then the other cool thing that connects it to South Carolina is they've got Freightliner as their partner, which Freightliner is a big South Carolina-based company up in Fort Mill with a lot of employees. So a lot of cool connections to our state.
Fantastic. So a couple of other things. Who do you expect? Do you happen to know next which of the major teams will unveil their paint scheme for Darlington? And then secondly, do you have any more teams coming in to test here in March before they get to race weekend?
Well, we won't have any other tests. When Christian Eckes came out, that was one of those where he had never driven an Xfinity Series car at Darlington, so he was allowed to test. That doesn't happen as often as it used to from just a testing standpoint. But the month of March is going to be busy for us. We've got a few other events lined up where we're going to be out away from the track promoting Throwback Weekend, promoting Darlington Raceway and our 75th anniversary. And then over these next few weeks, we've gotten a little bit of heads up from several teams about their plans. I don't want to spoil anything here, but I'm anxiously awaiting some more of these to get unveiled as we go over the next couple of weeks leading into Throwback Weekend. All
right. Well, coming off of the COTA weekend, headed to Phoenix. How about Christopher Bell? He's got 2 wins back-to-back, 2 wins in the first 3 races. So he's in the playoffs. William Byron, of course, Daytona winner. So he's in. So 2 guys have already got their playoff spot clinched. So what do you think about this, the early part of the season with the way the points look? You got those 2, Blaney 3rd, Reddick 4th, Elliott 5th. Anything surprise you among the top 16 at this point?
Well, certainly not surprised to see a guy like Christopher Bell win at COTA. He was, right there in the mix last year. He's run well. I think maybe it was a little more surprising to see the win the week before at Atlanta to set up the opportunity for back-to-back. But he's put himself in a great position to start the year. Now they can focus on just winning races, building as many points through the regular season as they can. So not surprised at all to see Christopher continue to take those next steps in continuing to win races, show his talent, and Coda put on a phenomenal race over the weekend. You know, a guy like Chase Elliott, you mentioned, he battled back from an early incident to finish fifth. Kyle Busch, you know, I thought Kyle was really close to breaking that losing streak, and I think a win is coming for him again with that RCR team. So I guess maybe a little surprised that the Penske cars didn't run as good at Coda, but you know, it's so early in the season. Guys are feeling things out. We're starting to hit a couple of racetracks coming up here with Phoenix, our mile track, and then you've got a couple of 1.5 miles with Las Vegas and Homestead. So I think we're going to see in the next 3 to 4 weeks, you know, who's hitting their stride early in the season heading into Darlington.
All right, and one more thing about Phoenix. You've got a woman, female driver, who's going to be competing on the Cup side, Catherine Legg, and she's come up through the ranks, and she's going to get her shot for fame and fortune on the NASCAR Cup Series. What do you expect from that team? You know much about them?
Well, I think she's probably, you know, going to, I would imagine, take it somewhat, you know, enjoy the whole experience. I wouldn't expect her to get in there and really try to, compete for the win right away. But it's always great to see, new faces in the sport. I think this, I had heard where this is the first female since Danica Patrick, which has been about 7 years ago. So that's great. And I think she's certainly got a varied background in various forms of motorsports. She's raced IMSA, she's raced IndyCar, she's raced ARCA. So it'll be cool to see her out there at Phoenix this week, and wish her and that team all the best.
Well, she's not afraid to go fast. I'm just reading some notes here. In 23, she set the record for the fastest qualifying time for a woman in the Indy 500. So she's doing 220 plus in those cars, more or less. She's not fearful of going fast. Speaking of fast, I hope those tickets are going fast.
They are. We've had a strong couple of weeks of ticket sales, especially with the start of the season at Bowman Gray, leading through Daytona, and then the first few weeks. So good to see some positive reaction from our fans just in terms of buying tickets for this early April weekend. But there's still some left, so get your tickets, darlingtonraceway.com. Whether you got a family you want to bring out, if you're military, teacher, first responders, there's special offers out there. We'd love to see those stands packed. People ask me all the time, how can we make sure we keep 2 races at Darlington every year? Well, the best answer to that is show up. Let's fill up those grandstands, and that's the best thing we can do. So I'd love to see everybody out there April 5th and 6th for the official throwback weekend of NASCAR.
Fantastic. We thank you. It was great seeing. Well, I didn't get a chance to talk to you. You were busy, but I did listen to you and got a chance to talk to some other people, including Austin. We're going to hear from him after the break. So thank you, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right. Thanks, Corey. I appreciate you coming. Sorry we didn't get to say hello, but always appreciate your support and being there, and we'll talk again next week.
I was over there with the little people like Reggie Anderson and Rick Henry. The little people, you big wigs are over there inside the mansion. So thank you. We'll talk to you next week.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, pal. All right, Josh Harris, comments from Austin Cindric coming up after the break. 62-58 Georgia. They have not had a field goal last 4 minutes, 1:47 to go. And it is Coastal leading Southern Miss 60-56, 3:47 left.
Are credit card rates weighing you down? Founders Federal Credit Union is here to help, offering rates below the national average. Our Essential MasterCard is as low as 13.25% APR, and our rewards cards start at just 15.25% APR. Pay that with 0 annual fees and 0 balance transfer fees. Apply today and keep more of your money in your pocket. Visit foundersfcu.com/cc to learn more or apply for a new credit card today. Membership qualification required. Terms and conditions apply.
There's a lot of things we take for granted in our lives. Your home's AC will run cool. Your drive-through coffee will be hot. And the car will start when it's time to take your kids to school. It's when things don't go as planned that you start thinking about who to call and where to turn. The good thing is, you can prepare for life's most difficult days by calling the Larry Lucas Agency today. Larry is a State Farm agent that has been taking care of people across South Carolina for more than 2 decades. You probably have insurance, but switching is easy, and bundling can save you hundreds or more. Most importantly, the Larry Lucas Agency can help you choose the protection you want at the price you want. All backed by South Carolina's #1 home and auto insurance company. Visit LarryLucasAgency.com today or give Larry a call at 803-799-1998. Like a good neighbor, Larry Lucas State Farm is there.
Call Lawyer Lisa. Experience the difference with Lawyer Lisa.
Hi, I'm Lisa Hosseller-Brown. Did you know Lawyer Lisa offers a prevention plan add-on to our services? If you already have a trust or just need some updates, ask about getting your ducks in a row and getting all of your wishes set out before it's needed. Visit lawyerlisa.com for more information.
Call Lawyer Lisa. Experience the difference with Lawyer Lisa.
7511 St. Andrews Road, Irmo, South Carolina.
Wide open, somebody pour me a drink, somebody bum me a smoke. I'm about to get on a buzz, I'm about to get on a roll. Yeah, I've been breaking my back, just keeping up with the Joneses, y'all know.
All right, Austin Cindric was front and center at the governor's mansion today with the #2 car. Cool guy. Here he is talking with the media, and he was asked, of course, about this paint scheme. Throwback to the Dale Earnhardt era, the #2. It'll be a Ford Mustang he'll be driving.
A lot of new voices out there. What's it like having Thomas Allen, Ben Boulware, and then Tom Allen, with your group?
Sorry about that. That was not Austin Cindric. That was going to be Wade Woodaz, who we'll get to tomorrow. We're going to get to Austin Cindric here in just a moment. Rookie mistake, Plummer. 64-58, Georgia leading South Carolina. 1:11 to go. 3-0 Clemson baseball over Upstate. Bottom of the 7th. 3 runs on 3 hits for the Tigers. And South Carolina trailing Davidson 3-1. Top of the 5th. 1 run on 3 hits, 3 errors by the Gamecocks. Now, Austin Cindric on the throwback scheme to the Dale Earnhardt era. He'll be driving at Darlington.
Yeah, well, I can't think of a cooler legend in the sport to really honor than Dale Earnhardt, and obviously his history. You don't need to know much about NASCAR to know that name and what it means to all of us and definitely our sport. But the #2 car, is one of the winningest numbers in the sport. But to be able to have a paint scheme that it's so recognizable. Is what makes it so exciting. I think that's what makes our race fans really love that throwback weekend that we do at the beginning of the year at Darlington, and I'm excited to see it on the racetrack.
You mentioned you're a history buff. Obviously, this car, this track, it's a perfect scenario.
Yeah, when you think of the history of NASCAR, you think of a few racetracks, and Darlington certainly one of them. 75 years. I mean, think about how many races we're putting on, and I think obviously a beautiful display of kind of the history and where we've gone and where the sport's headed, and certainly look to be a part of that for as long as I certainly can. But it's cool to be able to put it together on a weekend that can really appreciate that. But also, there's always a lot of legends out here at the racetrack, Hall of Famers and legends of the sport that we get to honor, appreciate as well. So it's cool to have a car and a paint scheme and design, but also to be able to honor those guys on a certain weekend is I think very important for us to do.
What was it like for you the first time you raced at Darlington?
I feel like it's the first time every time. It's one of the most intense laps that we do on the schedule, let alone go out there with 40 other guys and trying to race around each other. It's a very difficult track to race on, but it's a very dynamic race. And in the Southern 500 that we do, in the fall, adding that 100 more miles is, that much more challenging. So for us to be able to go out there and figure that place out is always a challenge. There's always a new challenge, and this place of experience really matters. But being able to manage your car, but the commitment level it takes to be fast there is like nowhere else we go to.
Austin,
Austin, the patient level is pretty high when you go to Darlington, because we always talk about you race the other competitors, but you also got to race that track.
Yeah, I think more than anywhere else that we go to, Darlington's one of those places you got to race the racetrack before you race your competitors, and I think there's a high level of respect. You know, we talk about that place like it's a living being, and as a driver, it kind of feels like it is. It might look like some concrete and asphalt to somebody else, but for us, it's a living, breathing being that you have to respect and you have to understand, and it's a difficult place to navigate, and that's why you see so many guys getting in the wall and tearing up their race cars, but just running by themselves. Usually we're tearing up race cars because we're racing each other, and rarely it's because we're putting it in the wall. So, but this place is a racetrack that's almost synonymous for hitting the wall because it is so difficult.
Talk about the fact you want to get that checkered flag, but also there's the other element too. But when you have a car like this, I mean, you're in line for the fan vote.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm out there to go win the race. That's number one on the list, but I hope we give something for the race fans to look at and cheer for, and be excited to go see during the weekend. I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of great paint schemes. A lot of our competitors do a lot of great things, but I feel like this one is about as good as it gets. I love it when the car number and the design and the sponsor all work out, and it's been a fun project, and we look to have a little more fun with it before next month.
Okie doke. Austin Cindric, enjoyed listening to him today, and looking forward to watching him and the others race. Want to remind you that the Bass Pro Tour is coming to Lake Murray this week. Third stop on the 2025 Bass Pro Tour. It'll kick off Thursday morning with the Power Stop Breaks Stage 3 at Lake Murray, presented by Strike King. The 4-day tournament hosted by Capital City Lake Murray Country Regional Tourism Board will showcase pros competing for a top prize of $150,000. There's an MLF fan experience, including a kids' fishing derby, giveaways, and more on Saturday and Sunday from 3 to 6. The pros will also be working on a habitat restoration event on Wednesday. That's tomorrow from 9 to 11, and visiting fourth-grade students at Piney Woods Elementary from 1 to 2:30. Complete details and updated info on Major League Fishing and the Bass Pro Tour, visit MajorLeagueFishing.com. That's MajorLeagueFishing.com. All right, 66-60, Georgia leading South Carolina. Bulldogs has hit a pair of free throws. 53 seconds left. Coastal Carolina clinging to a 61-60 lead on Southern Miss down in Pensacola, trying to keep the dream alive. Kentucky blasting LSU 50-23. So LSU loses, they'll be 3-14. The Gamecocks lose, they'll be 2-15. So that will, I think, clinch last spot for the Gamecocks because they lost at LSU, and then the most they could win would be 3 games, and LSU's got 3. So LSU would have the tiebreaker. So if this holds up, if South Carolina loses, that will clinch the 16th spot and the spot in the first game of the SEC tournament a week from Wednesday in Nashville. Davidson 3-1 over South Carolina, bottom of the 5th. And Clemson leading Upstate 3-0. We'll have coverage post-game of all that coming up on our website. Thanks to Russell Fry for being with us, Josh Harris. Thanks to all of you for joining us. Thank you, Plummer. See you tomorrow.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point.